This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome. Thank you. I'm Chris Shaw. We're here for the Board of Civil Authority October 7th, 5:30 meeting. And we are, I think, all present for a forum with our agenda and business. I'm going to ask Holly to tell us how to exit the building in the event of an emergency.
Sure. In the event of an emergency, you're going to evacuate by either of the exit doors, and immediately to your left is the closest parking lot and rendezvous out there.
Great. Thank you. We're going to open the floor for comments from the public for items that are not related to the agenda tonight. Seeing and hearing none, we're going to go to item 3, a follow-up to the resident question raised, protocols for committee appointments. Are we going to?
Yep, Colin is here, and I think Colin is going to share with us information that he learned.
Where would you like me to go?
How about right in front?
Right in front?
I'll just angle a little bit. It's story time with Colin.
Right. Right. So as I understood it, there was a citizen reached out to you to ask about a process for about public meetings and looking into a potential issue relating to public meetings and appointments to committees. And that had come to you by way of a citizen had reached out to the Secretary of State's office.
Speak louder, please.
Oh, sorry. Yes. A citizen had reached out to you by means, upon advice of the Secretary of State, who had advised them to come to the BCA with their issue. I had done some research into the Vermont statutes and wasn't entirely sure as to what process you would engage in as part of looking into this issue, and spoke with the Secretary of State General Counsel, who advised that whoever told the citizen this at the Secretary of State's office was mistaken. The BCA has no role in this process. There is a specific process to allege violations of public meeting that's laid out in the statute. And the statute is 1 VSA 314. It's explicit there, but that the BCA does not have a role into looking into allegations of public meeting violations.
Is there a quick summary you can give us of the 1 VSA?
Sure, it's basically the public meeting statute, but it says that there is a complaint enforcement. It outlines that all meetings must be public, etc. And it also talks about that if there is a specific violation alleged, it outlines the enforcement procedure, and it outlines how you would go about issuing a complaint, which has to be a written complaint outlining the specific allegations that you have. That goes to the body that is alleged to have made the violation, at which point they have the opportunity to redress it or not address it, and it explains that procedure.
Okay. Questions for Colin from the board? If the resident had made this exercise in public comment to our board, and it's now in the minutes of that board, is that a written complaint as such?
Well, is the complaint to the BCA that the BCA violated the public meeting law?
No, that the BCA should in turn, and the BCA is made up of the board that's affected the city councilors, I believe ex officio members. That since that's in public comment, that is then in minutes, is that a written complaint?
It doesn't seem to meet the nature of the statute, and it's a written allegation. It was made in comments, and we put it together in minutes.
Okay.
And you're not the board that is alleged to have, as I understand it, you're not the board alleged to have, or not the body that is alleged to have made a violation. So I don't believe it would be sufficient.
Would an email be sufficient?
Likely, yeah.
To city council?
As long as it met the nature of the statute, yeah.
And that would be any one member of the city council or the city manager, or does it really matter?
I don't think it really matters.
So one individual of the board, the city manager would be included in
Probably
that?
not one member, but it would probably be directed to the city council. If the city council is the body that's alleged to have made the violation, the city manager could certainly be made to the city manager with the intention of relaying it to the council.
Okay.
But
A group email with 5 city councilors, maybe with the city.
I mean, you consider the city council themselves as a body. They're not each individual. So if you're making an allegation to the body, it would be best to reach out to the body itself, which is everyone. You could also reach out to the chair with the intention of this is intended to be for the entire body.
Okay. The resident may be here. Would you like to speak, right? Next question?
Exactly, so we need the clarity of process. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And you can obviously follow up directly with him. Anything else on this item?
So it's just, this was related to the city council.
The complaint that was brought to us was referred to us by the Secretary of State, following saying that that was an error after checking with the Secretary of State, and that there's a process that should go directly to City Council in a written format to address the issue. And that's the protocol. Okay. Clear? All right.
So Colin, has it gone to the city council?
Not that I'm aware of. Maybe I can follow up with Mr. Doyle after to talk it through if necessary.
All right. Great. Move on. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Colin.
Thanks.
So item 4, Barbara, I believe, had asked to speak to us about the general election.
But that's together private, we just want to,
Okay.
you and Holly for 5 minutes, it's not open for general discussion.
Yeah, so after we posted the agenda, Barb responded with not necessary to me as a BCA. So I don't know more than that.
Then let's move on to item 5, the dates for the upcoming pre-election meetings and pre-processing, which I will have a number. I'm a little unsure of how to work the accessibility balance, which I would like to set up and break down and run through. Because very likely we'll be needing one of those,
Yep.
or a few of those, in addition to some of the other issues I'd like to ask about.
Yep. So a couple things. One, everybody has, and I will send out to everybody online after tonight the draft schedule. So just we don't have to approve it or anything. I just want everyone to take a look. Trying to make sure that all the bases are covered. So this schedule has really 2 people at the back table plus the tabulator, and then 3 people for the front of the house. So we have a lot of people that want to support elections. I'm happy to add more people to the list. I just want to have tasks for them to do. So initial input on that, and then a conversation around what are how many trainings or meetings do we want to have ahead of the election, and what do you want to be in those? So Chris had mentioned setting up the Omni ballot, just a tutorial to make sure everyone is comfortable with that. We also want to go over safety procedures. You know, there's always a heightened sense of what do we do if we get a threat of some sort or a fire alarm or something like that, as especially in these general elections. So going over that. We also have had inquiries from residents about safety and whether or not there are going to be officers on site. So, conversation points for the BCA of, what you're looking for in the elections as well. And then making sure that we have a pre-processing date in place so people can participate in that. Ballots are coming in fast and furious. So we're definitely going to, want to schedule at least one and maybe 2. Yeah.
How are they secure? The ones that are coming in now, to make sure that everything is tight, secure, for them when they're being held and run through the tabulators?
Sure. So anytime a ballot comes in, they're barcoded in unless somebody, has destroyed their ballot or lost their ballot and they sign the appropriate affidavit to get another one. Everything is barcoded in and then alphabetized by the day with a little report wrapped around it, and everything is secured in the vault. So they don't get touched again once that happens. And then they're, prepared for pre-processing. So they sit in these gray bins. Right now we just have one. Eventually we'll break that out into districts because that's how we'll be doing our pre-processing. But for right now, until we kind of reach that threshold of needing to break apart into 5, they're in one, but they get secured immediately after I wand them in with the barcodes, and then they stay in the vault.
How often do the bins get emptied?
They get emptied 2 times a day, Monday through Friday. They don't get emptied on the weekends. So this morning was unusually big, as Monday mornings would be. What's that? It's full? I hope not. But yes, the ballot box in the back, and then most of them come through the front secured drop box.
Is this the only ballot drop box outside?
Yep. So that's the only ballot drop box, but we do indicate that it's secure up at the front of the building so people can drop them in that box as well.
We still have the high-speed scanners that we secured for the city, or is that on loan?
So we do have the high-speed scanner. I have not heard yet from LHS who it's their high-speed scanner, or they hold on to it. If anybody else has put a request in. So we're still in communications with LHS. Also, we're awaiting our discs for the tabulators. So as soon as we get those, I can ask that question.
But we don't own.
We don't own that. No.
Are we working towards that?
Working towards owning a high-speed scanner.
Is that budget?
We had discussed, we had discussed that 2 years ago or 4 years ago, and decided that we would hold off. The BCA authorized us to buy it, but we decided to hold off on it because it would be 4 years of updates and new equipment that we would just be wasting sitting in the vault. So the BCA did make that motion to purchase one. It just wasn't the right time to do it.
Right, we would have a 4-year-old machine now.
Yeah.
Right. But then knowing that there's not time to get a 1-year-old machine. So we'll just need to discuss if you want to move forward with that, when to do that.
So would this be something we'd want to appeal to council to add into the budget in December?
Yeah. In December. So we're right now. Yeah. So right now, it would be great if that was something that we could consider if you wanted to vote on putting that in. We're starting to build budgets now, as you know, so I can certainly do that if that's your pleasure.
Other general questions before we talk dates?
Well, that machine was always pre-processing, right? The high-speed machine.
Yes.
Right. And we used it 2 years ago?
I don't know, Donna, do you remember the last time you used the high-speed scanner for pre-processing?
What about it?
When was the last time we used it for pre-processing?
Oh, it was a November election. We used it twice, I think. So it would have been November 2022.
I believe we used it in 2020 and 2022 in November of both those times. I don't think we did
No. When was it? Once.
Yeah, we did it in 2022 because the state mailed out ballots to everybody. It was one of the first times for November election.
And they didn't do that in 2020?
No, because
I think 2020 was, yes. Wasn't that COVID?
Yeah.
That was during COVID, but did we use it once or twice? We used it twice, so probably, yeah.
So 2020 and then 2022.
So somebody brings the machine here.
Well, currently the machine is here.
It is.
So we just need to see if it's allowable for us, which would be a scheduling issue. It would need to be. Yeah, I don't know what that is. So Donna, do you know what the cost for programming it is?
For programming the machine, the tab, no extra cost because it's those little SIM cards, and those SIM cards actually plug into the computer. So the
Is it the
issue,
same SIM card?
Hmm?
The same SIM card as the tabulators?
because election night, you'll take one of them out of the tabulator and you'll put it into the computer to upload what went through the tabulators to merge with the pre-processing.
Gotcha.
So it's not so much, I don't think, the fact of the scanner is going to be a computer purchase, which wouldn't take very long to get because the scanner we're not going to use. Once we do the final pre-processing, it's done. And it's just a matter of making sure don't pick the same date as somebody else. The biggest thing is going to be the computer that you're going to need on election night to merge the data together.
Okay.
It's going to be a standalone computer.
And
So nothing else on it except the election.
Whose computer is that, Donna?
It'd have to be a new one because it's supposed to be one that's not in use for anything else other than elections.
Right, and so this is purchased by the city, or does LHS provide it?
They could probably we would have to probably buy it from LHS if we want to make sure
what did you use before?
Their equipment, but they lent it to us because it was kind of like a pilot. Is it going to work?
Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to Mike then. I can get the answer. I mean, if it's something that we can.
No, I was just curious. If we are going with the lending process again, or buy a new computer that Donna seemed.
And actually, I think the state owns these, and there's just housing at my place or my old place. And when the state needed them for recounts, they would just come and get them from us because it was easier than dragging them wherever they had it, to wherever they're doing the recount. Right. And then they bring it back to us.
Okay, so maybe the state could supply us with a computer?
That's what I'm asking.
Nice try.
We can ask. I can find out those answers.
I mean, they must have one solely devoted for this process.
I would think so.
It is, but the question is if more than one municipality is going to be needing it, they're going to have to pick and choose. And election night, we're all going to need that computer at our own location.
Right.
Okay. The possession being 9 tenths the law.
That's true.
Good charge of rent.
Okay. So I guess time to look at some dates. When it's going to be, most convenient to do a training, and whether you want to combine that training with like the, elections meeting to approve the workers, approve the schedule, all that.
I'd like to suggest sometime the week before Halloween, because everybody's going to be crazy busy during Halloween week.
So the week before Halloween to do a meeting, I'm guessing it might be a couple hours. And the training.
Yeah.
That's one proposal. Anybody else? And what time of day is going to be better? I mean, I'm flexible whenever, so I can do a weekend morning, a weekend afternoon, a weekend night, any evening.
We need the training and then we need 2 pre-processing periods.
Donna, what do you think about pre-processing? 2 dates?
Well, the last time I did one of these, I did like one way in advance, like maybe after 2 weeks after, just to that people got their ballots just to get part of them out. That was easier to deal in smaller bundles than it was to have, 5,000 at one time.
Yeah.
So I did one like maybe 3 weeks before, and then did a second one maybe a week before, a week, and then one that last Friday before the election. So
3. So then 3 pre-processing dates?
That's what I did, whether or not, I mean, you're the one, it means 3 days, but it's, I think 3 shorter days than 2 could be very long days.
Okay. So I leave that up to you as how you want to break that down. We don't even have our SIM cards yet, so we wouldn't. The earliest we could schedule is maybe next week, and we haven't obviously been able to test and do logic and accuracy testing with the test deck because we don't have our cards yet. So,
well, looking at the calendar, thinking perhaps Thursdays, if you were, Holly, telling us that 3 days of pre-processing would be better. If you had Thursday the 17th, Thursday the 24th, and potentially Thursday the 31st being Halloween, roll that to Friday the 1st, if you follow me.
Yep.
Because nobody necessarily would want to do it on Halloween. If time turns out to be like 4 o'clock at the best time versus say 10 o'clock in the morning at the better time, and just poll our present company and see if these 2 Thursdays, the 17th and the 24th, and that one Friday, the 1st, are good days, and then narrow down the time.
Sure.
Are those days sounding good for the folks online?
The 24th.
Mornings are better.
Okay, we haven't gotten there, but the dates seem somewhat okay.
If they were mornings. It's still field hockey season. It's still field hockey season, Chris.
Oh yes, it's still field hockey season.
And honestly, the amount of time it takes, you want to do it more in a day than a night meeting.
Okay, so in the morning more, if you're gone on the 24th, then for their ample bodies, it can make it's one of these drop-in things. I think that generally works. Is this working 3 days?
That's fine for me. I think, a 9 o'clock start would be good. It's hard to do 8, but if we could do 9 and, hope to wrap up a lunchtime kind of situation, but
10 would be better.
Well, again, you can roll in at 10 and we'll be happy to help have you put
I
your work.
agree. I agree. 10 is better. 10 is better.
And, if we start at 9, we can use the help at 10, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
The way these things have rolled with me. So, Al?
The days are good for me, but it have to be the afternoon.
Mornings work for me.
I'm hearing generally mornings are okay. We have 2 folks who prefer 10. This is Al saying no morning. There's no morning. Can we maybe set 10 to start?
10?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we're doing 10, I would just encourage people, you're going to have a lunch break, or maybe not even a break, but bring something for lunch because it'll be a good 3-4 hours.
At least.
I may have to leave for a half hour.
Sure.
Is that a problem?
No, I think if we have enough people there, the process is you check the ballots and make sure everything's ready, and then you stack them, and so there are kind of different opportunities for people to jump in. I mean, we definitely want to make sure that we have a core crew to get started and that we're not,
Here's
gapping.
The big question then is that it seems like in the past we've been successful in pre-processing by having assistant election officials. Well, we'll have our meeting to appoint those assistant election officials before the 17th or the 17th immediately to do so.
Yep.
Does that work? We could do it the night before and have that, but that would be the training meeting as well. In other words, next week, Wednesday night, which I believe is
the 16th.
Yeah, 16th, and perhaps Yom Kippur if I haven't, but possibly we could, have our introductory meeting before we do the pre-processing on Thursday the following day.
Okay, and do you want to do the training for the Omni ballot then as well, or that a different time?
I would want to do it's confusing. Ideally, I'd want to do the Omni ballot at the time we're doing the processing, but that begs the question of, messing around with the true ballots when we're trying to run a test ballot. So it would make sense to do it on the Wednesday night before.
Okay.
If that isn't a religious holiday.
The 16th. So we've got charter committee on the 16th, a lot of you, and me and Donna. That is from 5:30 to 7. It's up to everybody else. I mean, I'm available, but I don't know what anybody else has.
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
No.
So we're talking. No, Lynn is a no.
Field hockey doesn't ever end before 6. What about Tuesday night?
Tuesday the 15th.
Yeah.
What about Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning?
Wednesday morning, I'm fine. What about Wednesday morning, Lynn?
I have 3 appointments. No, that day is jammed. I could
Jammed.
make the evening. But not before 6.
And most of us aren't.
Tuesday's no good. People are saying Tuesday's not good then.
A couple people.
Not for the evening.
Yeah.
Tuesday early.
Yeah, like 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Or...
No, I meant morning. Sorry. Tuesday,
You're
not
out.
back till. I'm in North Country. It's the season. I'm sorry, but I will be very participatory. But I can't do evenings unless it's 7 o'clock.
On the 15th, next week, next Tuesday in the morning, is that a possibility for most of the folks here? And what time is good? Like 9, 10 o'clock? 10 o'clock?
Okay.
So
We're talking Tuesday the 15th.
Tuesday the 15th.
Donna, Tuesday the 15th at 10.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Oh.
And no more than
I got a dentist. I'm just trying to think what time. Maybe a few minutes late, but I'm just at 9.
Me too.
And the purpose of this meeting is primarily for our assistant election officials.
Yep.
So that they can be on board for the 17th at also 10 o'clock, correct?
Yep.
Okay, for the first pre-processing session.
And then we'll also do a setup of the Omni ballot, Chris.
On
the 15th.
Tuesday the 15th.
Yep.
Yes. Where will we be testing the machine? And sorry, we'll then roll to the 24th.
Yep.
Which is the next Thursday at 10 o'clock for another pre-processing session. And the Thursday the 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning for pre-processing.
Oh, we're doing 10 o'clock?
Is the 17th 10 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, so 10 o'clock starts for the pre-processing.
That's what I heard, Holly.
9 o'clock start or 10 o'clock, Lynn?
I heard someone else ask for 10. That's better for me too. I have an early morning class. I'll skip it, but 10 is better.
I don't see why some of us could start at 9.
It sounds like some of us can start at 9 and at least
Sure.
prep the
That's
ballots.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do 9. Yeah. But if you're coming at 10, that's fine.
On both the 17th and the 24th.
What about the first?
Are they starting at 10 or one's at 10 or one's at 9?
We're starting at 9 is what the consensus. Not going to be fully staffed until 10 o'clock. We might have, of the 5 districts, we might be rolling 2 districts at 9 o'clock. We might be rolling 5.
Bless you.
We'll definitely be running all 5 by 10 o'clock.
Yes.
We may only have 2 going at night. Okay.
And then Friday the 1st.
And Friday the 1st also at 9 o'clock, rolling till 10 o'clock if you are a late riser.
I'll bring some in.
Okay. Oh, there will be plenty left over. So, okay, no problem. So those would be the 3 pre-processing dates.
Yep.
And that's good?
Yep.
Okay, great.
And then the meeting date?
We need a meeting date to secure the machine. test the machine.
We don't need to, I mean, I can do that with staff. If you want to do it, we can do that, but we don't need to. Up to you.
Well,
We will, but you will
Last
need
time I
to
did this,
approve the election officials.
what's that?
You still need to officially approve the election officials. So that's another meeting at some point, whether it's held during the pre-processing. You could
We were gonna
call,
do that on the 15th. Right?
yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to have a separate meeting before the first pre-processing on the 15th to do that, Don. Does that make sense? And do the omni ballot at that time, since that's a time-consuming process. And then we would be meeting to do the securing of the tabulators on either that Friday or Thursday. I mean,
Well, if we're gonna be doing something on the 17th, I guess I mean, if people want to, we could test on the 16th.
is this something we could do on the 24th in conjunction with that morning meeting?
It can't be done closer to 10 days before the election. So that's 7, 8, 9. Yep. But we can't pre-process before we do testing.
Oh.
So it's got to be done before the 17th. Like an hour and a half.
So we're going to be doing that on the 15th?
I mean, we could do that on the 15th if you want.
Then we'll do it on the 15th. But the machines aren't going to be used until the 5th, right?
No, they have to get used for pre-processing. So the 15th is gonna be a long meeting, so everyone just is prepared.
We don't have a time yet for the 15th.
10 o'clock.
Oh, that's a morning also. Okay.
I think so.
So that's machines prep and pre-process?
So it's machines.
just-
Yep. So it's nope, not pre-processing. It's like the pre-election meeting for
Okay. Yep.
assignments.
Approval.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly. And then also setting up the omni ballot, reviewing the emergency procedures, and then doing the tabulator logic and accuracy.
Election officials approving it.
Yep.
So we have 4 main items, 5 main items.
Yep.
Okay.
Like Donna, I have. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Lynn.
No, Donna's got her hand up. She's being way more tactful. Go, Donna. Then I'll follow. Go ahead.
now I was just going to ask, have you seen the emergency procedure that was in the gray books?
I have seen it, and we will be reviewing it with everybody. It's been in there, yes.
Yep, okay. I know it probably needs to be adapted, but.
So, like Donna, I have a meeting. I'm an appointment, doctor's appointment, on that Tuesday morning. Hers is at 9. Mine's at 9:30. I won't be able to get there before 10:15 at the earliest.
We'll have an empty
Does
chair
that mess up your quorum?
No, it should be fine. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
I do, and ahead of the 15th, I just, for point of conversation, there are several people highlighted in yellow on the schedule. If you're an incumbent JP, then I don't have to worry about it. But there are several people that have showed interest and traditionally have helped with elections that are also on the ballot. So I need to know whether that's something to pursue or not pursue. And so I highlighted them in yellow. It's Ann Pugh, Helen Reilly, Megan Emery, Mike St. Germain, and Christy Sermont.
So you're looking for.
I think right. Or a direction not to.
Well, we have a policy that we adopted many years ago that said if someone's name is on the ballot or their spouse's name is on the ballot, they could not work that election unless they worked in a different district in which their name isn't appearing. So like if they're running for rep in District 8, they could work in any district but 8. But it's a policy of the BCA. It can get changed anytime. But That's a policy we've created.
So I think what Holly and Donna are saying is we would need to waive this policy specifically for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals that you've identified so far.
Mhm.
Or just
Or
sure
not.
make sure they're not working in the district. They're
Well,
Unfortunately,
they're justices, so it doesn't, it does, yeah.
But that would include everybody who are JPs.
Well, I think it's, if you're an incumbent, the understanding is like, well, we have to run the elections with the current JPs. So if you're an incumbent, that is a different kind of subset than somebody that might be new coming on.
Because your term doesn't end till February, so you're still a
Right.
JP.
After that, can they continue to work the elections after they're not a JP anymore?
Well, yes, anybody can, sure. But this is a little bit of a different
Yeah.
situation.
the policy being that if you're a standing JP, you can work the election even if you're up for re-election as a
Right.
standing JP. But these folks are not standing JPs, these 5 individuals. And can they work the election? According to Donna's policy, no. So we would have to waive this policy in order for them to be able to be scheduled to work the election.
With all due respect to the work we do as JPs and the reality that
Hold on just a second, Lynn. Sorry.
I know most people I think have a high integrity, but it's not a process. It's just not a good idea to have folks that have a different election.
I agree with that. I agree with her policy, Donna's policy.
I can't hear.
So we're having conversation, certainly Andrew and also Laura chiming in, feeling like not to waive a policy and to not allow folks that are on the ballot, unless they are part of the standing JPs, not to participate in elections, which I certainly have told everybody as they've said, hey, I'd love to help with elections. I said, well, I can tentatively present a schedule, but the possibility is that I might not be, you might not be allowed to work. So I'm happy to message whatever. I wanted to have a clear. I think any policy allows for that, but
How difficult would it be to rearrange your schedule to accommodate that?
I mean, I certainly have other people to put in. So
Oh, that's good news.
we're not at a shortage of workers.
And Lynn, I want to hear, did you have
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
Yes, I'm actually disagreeing with the people who are in the room because I think that it takes a lot of experience to smoothly run an election, and some of these people have, in their prior roles, helped run an election. I don't think the voters are going to make the distinction that I, Lynn, am working at the election and I'm on the ballot, and here's Helen not allowed to work the election because she's on the ballot for the same thing I'm on the ballot for. That doesn't, to me, make a lot of sense. Justices of the peace, by job description, work the election. If you're working the election as a volunteer and you're on the ballot to be a justice of the peace, and people think, oh, that's a good thing, I'm going to vote for you, great, that's what we need. Personally, I feel differently about election workers working the election that we're running as a volunteer to continue doing.
So I'm in agreement with Lynn as well that, I feel these people have served in the capacity of working on elections before. I know 4 of the 5 members have worked elections before, and it's merely a policy and that is saying, oh, they can't be on the ballot, and the distinction between Donna and Lynn and myself being on the ballot and working the election. These folks who have been on ballots before and have worked elections before are suddenly now told you cannot work this election because your name's on a ballot, and you are not at this moment, have the
Right.
proper. You have an expired driver's license, But you can.
Yeah.
With their experience, you can allow them to work in a different district.
Well, they're like at large, so it's not per district.
And that's the trick, is if they were running for a legislative position and they were locked into a single district, it would be very easy to move them to another locale and they could work and be very effective. But since they are at large, like a city councilor or a school board member, it just becomes the letter of the policy, which we're capable as a board to weigh in this instance.
So I have a question on that, Chris.
Yeah.
If my term as a city councilor is up and I'm on the ballot, am I allowed to work the election?
Not without a waiver.
I don't think I should be allowed to work the election.
I've never known any city councilor to work who's on the ballot.
Well, and I don't understand why a JP does anybody that's on the ballot.
Well, because the job of the JP is to supervise the election.
I understand that, but
What the term of the JP? What was the term?
2 years.
2 years.
From February.
Our JPs are not on the ballot.
I'm sorry. No, well, they're all on the ballot. They're on the November ballot. Their term starts in February. Where is it? February, March 1st or February 1st?
February 1st.
February.
Because there were no staggered terms, there were no JPs.
No, they all, it's a cycle. So
It's a little different from city council. Is that helpful, Laurie? I mean,
it's confusing to me. I mean, I understand, but I also understand that the integrity of the election, if I'm on the ballot, I shouldn't be a proponent.
and for a city councilor, that's the way it operates.
I understand, but it seems like the same issue exists for a JP.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
Except, yeah,
I understand, except the JPs have to be there.
right. Then we'd have nobody working.
That is the work of a JP.
What if how have we resolved this question with respect to JPs before we have policy?
Donna, has this ever been an issue before?
How do I phrase this? No, because I told somebody that they couldn't because it was a policy the BCA had. But for the
And we're willing to continue it, I think, for the majority of the people we're hearing here.
yeah, I just bring it up as a conversation point purely because, to Lynn's point, these are people that have experience with elections, and I would be backfilling with people that don't have any experience with elections, which is fine, and there's training. I just wanted to bring it forward as a topic of conversation. Do I perceive what as a problem?
Replacing these experienced folks with some folks.
I mean, I don't think it's a problem. We can certainly train up other people.
and
I think 5 experienced volunteers being told no because we were trying when we made that policy to avoid the city council more political kind of positions, city council, school board, things that usually draw competition and nervousness, I think. Perhaps we should have thought about that when we made it, about whether it's going to hamstring us in elections if JPs are on the ballot. 5 people wanting to be JPs who have election experience, that's great news to me, I have to say.
I just think it's a slippery slope. And all these people who are on the ballot are used to the fact that if your name's on the ballot, you cannot work. So I don't think we're disenfranchising anybody. And there is a competition. And unless you are very methodical in making sure they have the exact same number of hours and so that you're unbiased in anything, because there is a potential for someone to make a complaint who maybe not won.
Wow. Okay. Then I back off.
It's all about bias and people's perception, and That's kind of where I've always kind of stood. Even if best intentions is people's, when they see it, what do they think? And that's,
All right, so to sum up, I'm not hearing a groundswell of motions to alter the policy, and that means Holly is going to have to find substitutes for these 5 individuals.
Not a problem. That's why I brought
Is
it
that fair?
to everyone's attention.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. I appreciate it. And thank you, Donna. So we have our dates: the 15th, the 17th, the 24th, the 1st, all at 9 o'clock, rolling to 10 o'clock. And is there anything else?
I thought the 15th was 30.
Okay, what was the
Sorry.
time on the 15th?
That is 10 o'clock.
Okay. And everything else is fine.
I'm
maybe
sorry,
Holly
the other-
can, maybe Holly
I'll
can
send
say,
out a quick email. Yeah.
especially as Phyllis aren't here.
And on Monday, the 4th, the office will be closed all day, or what's the status of the office on Monday, the 4th?
The office will be closed. Yeah. It'll close at noon.
At noon,
Yeah.
as it did.
Yep.
the other stuff.
Yep. It'll be closed all day on Tuesday.
Yes. And we will have members from your office at each one of the polling locations for the EVR, the early voter.
Yep, we're short one, but yes.
Super.
Yep.
Any other questions or thoughts for Holly or herself?
Just a comment, the Free Press had an article about a vote, a register, take your ballot. They said in the end of it that you have up until 7 p.m. to drop your ballot, even at City Hall, like,
Right.
Unless there's a district in City Hall that you're in.
Nope.
Right.
So we message about that pretty frequently, and I think everybody is fully aware. You know, there are some states that allow for post dating, so or postmarks, and we're not one of those. So, 4:30.
4:30.
And that includes the drop box.
Yep.
And
Yep. So at
somebody-
4:30, I check both boxes and I lock them and I sign them, so people can't put anything else in there. Yep.
So when does the boxes get locked? On noon,
No, at 4:30, the day of elections.
day of election?
Yep.
Okay.
On the 5th.
On the 5th.
Oh, wow. So that they can actually.
That's why I run around.
Drive around the valley for the last point at 6:45.
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually at 4:30 we have everything. So then I'm delivering them right with pizza.
Elizabeth?
Holly, is there a sign that goes on the drop boxes
Yes, there
at
is, Lynn.
4:30?
Yep.
Hang on, Elizabeth's got a question.
That's a state thing. So yeah.
They would, yeah, that would have to go through our legislator. And probably be unique. So. Anything else? Good thought, though. It works well for the school board. You're right. It should. Pretty all right, I'll move to have adjourn if anybody has any objections. All right. All those in favor say aye. Hit the leave button. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
It's not easy.